so frustrating watching this team at the moment. These last 2 defeats have been the worst 2 defeats of the Pochettino era by far, the worst 2 performances, and all these reports coming out from quite reliable sources, from journalists who quite well informed generally in the club, saying that the players feel like they're undervalued, feel like they're underpaid, they feel like they've been overworked for 5 years, and they're I don't know if they agree with the tactics anymore. That's just so hard to listen to when they're saying this kind of stuff. And to be fair, they have at some points they have a point, but they can't just this doesn't help them at all. This malaise we're going through, this is not
underpaid and overworked. They're acting like they're miners down on like 5p an hour, you know what I mean? These are Premier League footballers that are on 60, 70 grand a week. Do me a favour. Come on. They've gone for 5 years. They've played good football, but that's all they've done. They've won nothing. They're completely self-entitled, think they're better than they are, and it's an absolute joke. These players who are refusing to play for a manager who made them, and they haven't won a thing. Who do they think they are? Who do they think they are?
I agree with you to some extent, but also think that there is a point to be had in terms of there's no point to be had in terms of how they're playing at the moment. That's unacceptable. But in terms of the point of they're underpaid, they're not being paid what they're worth, there is a point to that. We've said that for a while. I think everyone agrees with that, really. Every Spurs fan would agree Eriksen should be on more than 75 grand a week. Yes. Toby should be on more than 80 grand a week.
I agree with you with that, but it doesn't give them the right to do what they're doing right now.
No.
The crest on the front will always hold more than the name on the back, you know what I mean? Tottenham will go on without these players. After this season, and we can get these poisons out of the club, then we can move on. But what is the way forward for this season?
I don't know. It's tough because apparently there's also talk of Pochettino's. He's been a bit more disconnected with the players this season than he has in previous seasons. Apparently, I was even just reading just now. They were saying apparently they have a nickname for him now called Big Brother, because apparently he watches all the training on CCTV. He doesn't even go in person a lot of the time in the training. Apparently he has a lot of up and down mood swings. I don't know. This is from quite The Athletic. It's quite a reliable source.
Smells a bit like Mourinho to me.
Which I was saying, this is very reminiscent of the final days of Mourinho, final days of Klopp under Dortmund,
final days of Wenger, maybe.
The final days of Wenger. It does seem like that, and the question is at this moment in time, do we? Look, obviously, I don't want Pochettino to go out because I don't want Pochettino to leave. I don't think there's a replacement we can get right now mid-season that would benefit us.
I mean,
maybe we could get some.
The only one that is obvious to me is Allegri.
Yeah, but again, he's learning English. He's going to probably want a lot of money as well to reinvest in the squad. Is he going to come in straight away and improve things? I don't know about that.
Any manager is going to need a lot of money to invest in this squad because, you know what, we get in a manager, you think suddenly Toby, Jan and Eriksen are all going to sign contracts and we're not going to have to replace them in the summer.
So would it be worth just riding out the season with Pochettino and let him reinvent the squad in the summer, which we probably should have done this summer, which he continually said, which I don't know whether he didn't listen to.
He's been saying it for 2-3 years,
exactly,
it's not just this year.
Exactly. Or will we push the panic button, sack Pochettino for the short-term benefit of maybe if we're struggling to get top 4, which honestly, given these performances, we very well might not get top 4. Do we push the panic button, let Pochettino go, and then bring in someone in the hope that the short-term benefit is will lead to some long-term benefit in terms of getting someone, give that short-term manager bounce that we usually get when teams sack managers, and then get us to the top 4 and then see where we go in the summer. But then who do we get? I can't see Allegri coming right now. Do you want someone like Mourinho coming in right now? I don't know if that would be a great option either.
But at the end of the day, whatever manager we get in, we're always going to end up with the same problem, and that's the board not investing the money that we need to invest. Pochettino, what more does he need to do at Tottenham? Okay, he hasn't won anything, but he's taken us to such heights, Champions League final, top 4 consistently above Arsenal. What more does a manager need to do to get backing from the board?
The fact is he's continually overachieved, and there's only so long you can overachieve for. He's done literally 5 years of overachievement since he's come to Tottenham. and it's tough to continually get every single last ounce of quality out of the squad and out of the players that he's been getting. He's literally just been draining them dry, and I think it's all been building to a head this season. And I do feel we've been unlucky a bit in terms of we haven't been able to get the new signings on the pitch to freshen things up a bit, which is a bit unlucky. But at the end of the day, we have the squad of players at the moment. They feel like they've been completely run into the ground for the past 5 years, and they've had every single every single ounce of energy drained out of them, and now we're in this situation.
Yeah, well, do these players really think after a season like this of throwing the manager under the bus, throwing the club under the bus, do you really think they'll get their moves to bigger clubs, or do you reckon they're just going to go to like lower clubs like Toby? Who's he going to go to? Roma or someone? Like these players, do you really think Eriksen will get his move to Real Madrid after performing like this? Like,
no, I don't think he will.
These players are not doing themselves any favours, and they've all got to pull. Every single player at that football club, every single person at the football club need to pull together and make something out of this season. Otherwise, everyone's just going to drift off into the abyss.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen it so many times now. Players who down tools to get their big moves, and then they finally get their big moves. It's not so easy to reclaim your form. Look at Alexis Sanchez. He down tools in his last few months at Arsenal, hoping because he wanted a big move. He gets that big move to United, and he can't regain the form because he hasn't been on top of his game for 6 months. It happens with players. And so it's not so easy for this players to regain that form. That should be a worry for them. They should be looking at their own game and not being focused on being frustrated about external things that they can't really control. And the thing that frustrates me with players like Eriksen and Toby is it's not like we didn't try to sell them. We tried to sell them. No one came in for them. Toby, he had a 25 million release clause. No one bid for him. Eriksen, we were willing to let him go for a very reasonable price for a player of his quality. No one bid for him. In terms of that, I know maybe we could offer, in terms of the contract, we could offer them more money, 200 grand a week or whatever that they could have been getting at other clubs. But obviously we don't want to do that. But in terms of the summer, we tried to sell them. We did our part, but what more can we do? So it's frustrating that they're now in a position where they're not. Obviously, their futures are very uncertain, but they're now not really playing 100%. They're not playing for the shirt, and they're kind of blaming us for them still being here when it's not Tottenham's fault that they're still here.
Exactly, it's not our fault. Nobody wanted to put their hands in their pocket and sign them at the end of the day. Eriksen made it clear that he only wanted to go to one club. That one club didn't come in for him.
No one came in for him. No one came in for him.
I think only Man United were pretty much the only team that did come in for him.
He didn't want to go there.
Toby Alderweireld, like you said, nobody came in for him. Jan Vertonghen.
Aurier said he wanted to leave. Only AC Milan on a loan deal came in for him. Like these players all wanting to leave. Danny Rose wanted to go. Only Watford came in for him. None of these players. Maybe they have a higher. Maybe they think they're better than they are.
That's because exactly right.
That's exactly how they have to prove how good they are.
Did you see what Van der Vaart said on the weekend?
It was actually again after Bayern, wasn't it?
It was after Bayern. Sorry, he came out and was like, these players just think they're better than they are, and they need to have a hard, long look at themselves and start playing for the shirt. Otherwise, it's just going to get worse for them. The club will always be there. These guys have short careers, If they keep carrying on like this for the rest of the season, no one's going to want to pick them up. And if someone is going to want to pick them up, it's not going to be the clubs that they're looking to go to. That's the truth.
I agree with you, and it's frustrating. Obviously, we the second half as well in that game. Once we went 3-0 down, the heads just dropped completely. We were just devoid of any sort of fight, and it was just the first time I think we've ever seen that from a Pochettino team, just so devoid of any sort of just any sort of fight.
And people blaming Pochettino and his tactics and not him having a plan B in this. How can you have a plan B and how can your tactics work if none of the players want to play for you? And I would say Moussa Sissoko, I wouldn't put him in that camp because I think he always puts in 100%. I know you said about Eric Lamela, but I think he was showing passion a bit throughout that game, and he was like shouting at the players to tell them to like.
And I thought Harry Kane was trying. You can see the pain in his eyes.
There are a couple of them that don't fall into that category, but the names I want to put out there is definitely Toby, Jan, Aurier. I know he didn't play. There are more than that, but I just can't think off the top of my head. Eriksen, Dele Alli. The list goes on. Basically, there are more players that are not in it than in it. Let's be honest.
That's what it feels like at the moment, and it's so worrying because you kind of. I think the international break couldn't have come at a better time. That's for sure.
And also, when you think about it, in the summer, no matter who the manager is, whether it's Poch or someone else, it doesn't matter. Let's say, for argument's sake, Toby, Jan, and Eriksson leaves. How much are you going to need to spend to replace these guys? For 2 top world-class centre-backs that we need starting every week, and a number 10 that's also going to be world-class. How much money are you going to need to replace these guys?
A lot of money.
You know what I mean? Can you see Daniel Levy dipping into his pocket and replacing them outright? Or can you see them going for Voith and Sanchez and having Tanganga on the bench next season? You know what I mean?
More likely we would go with Voith. I can see us probably, if Jan and Toby leave, I can see us only 1 centre-back, not 2. And if Eriksson leaves, I can see us replacing Eriksson with someone like maybe Bruno Fernandes or something. 50 million. I can't see us going any higher than that. But he's probably going to cost probably double that in the summer. We could have got him this summer, we didn't.
I think he's had a good start to the season, hasn't he, Bruno Fernandes?
I do feel like Tottenham are quite an attractive team to be at, even if we do lose some of our top players. I do think we can recruit.
I think it's losing. It's losing it like week by week by week. You know, it doesn't look like a happy place to be. And who wants to go to a place that's not happy to be at?
I agree, but I don't know where this leads, because obviously in Klopp's final season at Dortmund, it's very. I think that's probably the most comparable scenario.
But Dortmund have never got back to the heights that they.
That's
were
the thing.
at
They never. Well, they never have, but they also didn't fall away. You know what I mean? They didn't
fall away, but
the
the competition in Germany is a lot less than it is in England.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's true.
You've got Arsenal who are improving. You've got Chelsea who are improving. You've got Man United. Okay, they're rubbish at the moment, but at any point they can go out there and spend 200 million.
But do you think Klopp? Do you think Dortmund regret? I don't know if he left, or I don't know if they sacked him or if he resigned at the end of that season.
Can't remember.
But all I remember is he obviously had a very strong first 6 years of Dortmund, and in the 7th year, the team that he had built had run themselves into the ground, and they just weren't up to the tactics anymore. And I think they finished 7th or 8th that season, and he ended up, I can't remember if he got sacked or he resigned. It was one of the two. But he ended up leaving at the end of that season. Obviously, he went on to join Liverpool the season after. But is it something that, can you see Poch resigning or leaving at the end of the season?
Yeah, I've said it before all this madness was going. I don't blame Poch if he was to leave. And that was not to do with the players throwing him under bus. That was more to do with Levy not backing him the way he wanted and the way he needed. Like I said it before, but how can a manager come into your club and completely transform the club head to bottom, above Arsenal, Champions League regularly, which was absolutely alien to us. You know, we played in the Champions League once before. Top title challenging teams, which is completely alien to us. When in our lifetime have we challenged for a title? And not give the man what he needs and wants and what he's telling the club he wants. That's what's really thrown Pochettino under the bus. And now the players are joining in on the act. So it seems like the manager is the odd one out here, not the players and the board, because they all seem to not care about anything, and Pochettino seems to be caring.
He's the only one showing ambition.
Exactly, Poch is the only one showing ambition, and everyone else should be ashamed of themselves. And I don't think anything will change unless ENIC leave the club, and I'm sorry, and that's the truth.
You don't think anything will change as ENIC leave the club?
Maybe there'll be short-term effects of a new manager and stuff, but ultimately, I think we've reached our ceiling under ENIC, and I don't think we can go any further. Pochettino, like you said, was overachieving for so many years.
Yeah.
You're going to need to get a manager to overachieve to bring the success that we want. You don't want to overachieve. You want to achieve what your capabilities are. If we were to strengthen like Pochettino said we should have, then our capabilities would be up there with Man City and Liverpool.
Yeah, especially at certain times. But now it's just.
The players have lost it. The manager seems to be losing it, and the fans have lost it as well. It's all gone to shit at the moment.
It's hard to know, because it's not just one thing. It's so many things that seem to be going wrong all at the same time at Tottenham, and it's hard to put your finger on how to fix it.
It started a long time ago. It started when we didn't invest in the last season at White Hart Lane. That's when it started. Pochettino, every year since then, has been saying the squads needs refreshing, we need to do our business early, we need to be brave. The club have not done any of those things.
Yeah. And now it's all come to a head. It was always bubbling under the surface. You wanted to kind of believe it wasn't going to come to fruition, but now it looks like it's all coming to a head, all in one go. And now we're seeing it on the pitch finally. And if Pochettino can turn this around,
well, you say now finally, but when's the last time we've actually consistently played well? It's been 2 years.
Yeah, but that's different, because at least then we weren't playing well, but we were still showing fighting games to get over the line. We were still winning games.
Yeah, we were, but just about. And there was
you forget in January last season we were above City. We were second, 4 points behind Liverpool.
Yeah, but I don't think that was to do with kind of how good we were. I think we were just about getting by in games.
That's my point. You can't do that without showing fight. You know what I mean? You can't do that without digging deep and trying your best to get the result. You can't get that amount of wins without the team being together. But now you're seeing what it's like when the team aren't together.
I saw the stats about how we press. So that last season at White Hart Lane, I think we were the second most pressing team in the league. Season after we were like 5th. Season after we were like, is this the season after now?
Yeah.
So 16th. Now we're like 16th or something.
Yeah.
And that just sets it all.
Eric Dyer was asked today if the Tottenham team are in crisis, and he said it wouldn't be too strong a word to say we're in crisis at the moment. That's what is coming out from Eric Dyer. So that just shows you where we're at the moment. At least the players know of available the situation. All that I'm hearing from the players is they are still working hard. They are still together. But they don't sit on the pitch.
You can't see it.
I don't sit on the pitch.
Anyway.
And I don't know. But what if it is the case that these players, just like I don't believe in Klopp's last season, Dortmund players just stopped caring and stopped fighting. It's just maybe they have been running to the ground for so many years, and they just can't keep up with these tactics anymore.
But then again, that brings us back to what Pochettino kept saying: the squad needs a refresh, and it does.
And it did in the summer, and it still does.
This is what Pochettino was talking about. This is what he was warning us about all this time.
You saw the graphic on Match of the Day that since 2014, you look at the squads of the top 3. And you could probably even put the top 6 in this, but just look specifically at the top 3: Man United, Liverpool, and Spurs. Which teams still have the same players?
Yeah.
Man City, Liverpool, and Spurs. What did I say?
You said Man United,
yeah. Yeah. Which team has the same amount of players in their squad from 2014? City have 3 players. Liverpool have 3 players from 2014. We have 8. And of all those 8 players, most of them are starting 11 players, pretty much all of them. And that just shows you that they realised their teams needed refreshing, but we haven't. We've decided to stick with what we have, and when you stick with what you have, it's going to go stale at some point. You just can't keep it up for so long, that overachievement, and that's what it looks like. And
exactly. We've said it many times. It's like, if you stagnate in the Premier League, you go backwards, and this is exactly what's happened to us. And the players have lost their kind of will to play.
They've lost that drive, that hunger.
They've lost it because
we were a young team.
Anything new.
Yeah, because we were a young team. We were full of hunger, full of enthusiasm and energy. And now we're not so young anymore. We still haven't won anything, and they're probably frustrated with themselves. They're frustrated with the club that they haven't won anything, and they're probably fed up of working hard, 10 times harder like they used to than the opposition without the high press and stuff, and that's the situation we're in, and it's just so frustrating that it's come to a head like this. But hopefully, if Pochettino can turn this around, it'll be his biggest, best job he's done yet. If he can turn this situation around, because this is the worst we've been.
Well, he's going to need time, because it's not something that he can turn around overnight.
Thank God the international break's come.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway,
can't lose this weekend.
Exactly. It's the international break this weekend. It's nice to have a break off Spurs for the weekend. Like, subscribe, and comment below and tell us what you think has gone wrong with Tottenham. And as always, come on you Spurs.